What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Recently just picked up a new purchase. I want to show it to you guys. Alright, so what we have here is a 1990 Mazda FC RX7. It's a GTU, it's not a Turbo 2, but for what I'm putting in it, that doesn't matter to me. Got it as a roller. Somebody tried to put a small block in it. See, they cut the hood here for this Y-end intake. That's not what's going to be going into it. I have some plans for that at the moment. You can tell that somebody was planning on turning this into a drag car. Luckily, they didn't get too much farther than just cutting the hood. Unfortunately, they cut the trunk out of it to put a fuel cell in it, which isn't a big deal. That's not the way that I would have gone if I was making plans with this, but since it's already cut out, that's what I'm going to be putting in it. Got some Mickey Thompsons on the rear, skinnies and fats. Well, the racing wheels, those are not going to be what stays on it. The plan for this vehicle, or this RX-7, is to turn it into a drift car for myself. So it's not a pretty car by any means, as you can tell. There's lots of fading, scratches, swirls, dings, dents in this car, but it's all one color, and I think I can bring it back. It'll be a good 10-footer, and that's all I really care about since it's going to be a drift car like this. This is all new to me. I'm more familiar with classic cars, but I've graduated YouTube University, so I have an idea of what I need to do to make this a practical drift car. But first thing, whenever you're building a new car, is you got to figure out what you got. This came with few parts. Most of the stuff is not what I'm going to be using, like I said, like the drag wheels and tires. But it came with the fuel cell, it came with radiator, stuff like that, some small things. They were going to try to switch it to a 4-link in the back. So I got a bunch of extra 4-link parts that I'm not going to use, which is nice. I can sell that stuff and make back some of my money. I recently just picked up the drivetrain for this, and what I'll do is we can go over everything that I have and what I need to buy. So here I have the hood popped open for you guys. You can get a little bit of a better idea of what they were trying to do. I guess they were planning on making some serious power. They got it face plated, just welded angle iron to the frame rail. That's gonna be all coming out. I'm not gonna be using that. There's only a few options. It's not like an S chassis where you can put any motor in. The way that the spacing between the firewall and the rack kind of makes it a little tough. There's really only 3 options as far as motors, as far as aftermarket support, engine mounts and stuff like that. And that's going to be, 13B, which I would love to put a Turbo 2 in this car, but practicality doesn't really make any sense for me since it's really expensive. I ain't got the pockets for that. Another way to go with this is LS. Lots of guys small block them too. but that's not really, you know, I feel like that's not the right thing for this car. LSs, they're really simple, really easy to do in these cars. Not really the way I want to go. I already have worked with LSs already. This is my 55 Cadillac Coupe de Ville. Already have an LS in that. Not really the way I wanted to go. I really wanted to do a turbo car, turbo build. And that leaves only one other option as far as what most people put in these cars. And that's going to be 2JZ. And this is what I picked up here. So this is what I picked up. I actually picked up the full drivetrain. This is a 2JZ GE non-VVTi. This motor was already in a running and driving car. A gentleman that I bought this motor from, he had it in a 240Z and a S30. I actually saw this motor running, went to the guy's house, helped him pull it out of the car that it was in, and I got everything with the swap. I got, this generic turbo intake. I believe this is the Nissan Maxima drive-by-wire throttle body. Got a whole set turbo, just a knockoff manifold, Chinese manifold. It's got the LQ9 LS coil on plug conversion, drift motion fuel rail. I believe these are, what were these? Injector Dynamics ID1000 injectors. I have a few pictures of it in the car. Also comes with the CD to 2JZ Collins adapter kit. I do not have a CD. He had a Z32 trans behind it, and I actually got the transmission. So this is the trans here. This is Z32 trans. Not as strong as a CD. I am a little skeptical about running this. I'm probably going to run it anyways. And if I blow it up, I'll just put a CD in. But for right now, this is what I got. This is what I got with the swap. Got a whole box of extra parts here. Most of this stuff is just clutch fans, covers for the 2J. I got the full swap mounts for the S30 for a 2J. Not going to be using those. I might hold on to them, might sell them, get some of my money back. I can dig into it a little bit deeper. Obviously, there's always things you forget when you're building a car. So you got to know what you have. I have mostly everything. With this swap, I actually got an ECU Masters Black ECU, and a Wiring Specialties harness for the motor, a standalone harness. I got a really decent deal on this whole swap. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull, I stuffed a bunch of the parts that I had gotten with the car inside the car. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull all the stuff out of it. Any of the stuff that I'm not going to be using, like I said, the 4-link setup. I actually got a Ford 88 Fox body rear end and everything like that too. I'm not going to be using that stuff. So what I'm going to be doing is throwing it up on Facebook, seeing if we can recoup a little bit of our money. You know, always got to make excuses to justify buying the car, and hopefully we can be, less money into the car. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull all the stuff out, lay it on the ground, and show you what I got. All right, so I pulled everything out of the car. I had some of the stuff in it. I'm going to go over everything that I got with the car. So when I purchased the car, I got this ladder bar setup. Like I was saying before, they were going to try to convert it to a ladder bar setup. I also got a 4-link, like a Fox body 4-link with the rear diff and everything. That's out in my shed. I didn't bring that in. That's pretty heavy. I'm going to be getting rid of that stuff. Not going to be using that. Already went over the motor a little bit, so we got all the stuff with that. That didn't come with the car, but I got this 15-gallon, what looks like a 15-gallon fuel cell. Might use this. Gonna have to see whether or not that's gonna work for what I want to do. And then I got this radiator here. That came with the car. Also that came with the car is this. Somebody was trying to put a small block in it. Let me pop the hood for you. So this came with the car as well. It's already mounted in there. Came with this Y-end intake. That's going to be a couple of bucks that I can recoup. Face plated. It's just a mock-up block. There's no pistons, anything in it. It's just a crank. Mock-up turbo 350s, just gutted. Some of this stuff I can probably sell for a couple of bucks. Just get my money out of it. I'm not going to be using it. Sell this. So that was everything that came with the car. The stuff that I got with the swap, we can go over that here. Let me show you. Obviously, said a couple of times, got the motor here. Got these 2 electric fans. Just kind of threw them in there with the stuff that he was giving me. Got a stock turbo 2 oil cooler. Might be using this if I can get it to mount in the factory location. We'll have to see with my intercooler setup and my radiator setup if I can squeeze that in between, or if I'll have to put it to the side. Got this intercooler here. I think it's just kind of a no-name brand. E3 USA is what it says on it. I'm not familiar. Got a tile blow-off valve, a little bit of intercooler piping, got a bunch of couplers, clamps. Probably only going to reuse the blow-off valve, really, out of this stuff, and maybe the clamps. I don't really, want to use 90-degree couplers on a lot of stuff. Don't feel like blowing a coupler and getting stuck on track. Got this radiator, just small block radiator for pretty much what would be in that car, but probably not going to be using that. We'll have to see. Probably won't be using that radiator either. That one's probably a little too small for what I'm trying to do. Also, here, I got it stuck in a garbage bag, is the wiring specialty harness and the Emu Black ECU Masters ECU that I got. So everything was in working order. Everything was in working order when I actually went to go look at the car. Saw it run in person, and then we just proceeded to pull everything out of it. So most of the stuff is good. I'll probably have to go through some of it and figure it out. Also got 350Z drive-by-wire pedal, so I'm going to go drive-by-wire on here. Just because I have the stuff and it's set up for it. I don't think necessarily one's better than the other. Drive-by cable, drive-by-wire. Since it's set up for it, I've kind of wanted to mess with this before. So we're going to go with it. So that is a universal standalone harness, wiring specialties harness. So it's got the relays in it and stuff like that, the pinout for your fuel pump, and a fan switch and stuff like that. It's definitely going to help me out with all this already being set up. A lot of just the little things you always forget to order when you're building a car. It takes a lot of parts. So I have most of that little stuff. Still going to be some more stuff I need to get, like swap mounts, obviously, and depending on what kind of setup I want to go for, a radiator, an intercooler. I might be using that intercooler. I don't know. Probably not going to be using those radiators. And that's the way we're going to need to go for picking that out. I want to take you back to the back of the car because I had said that they had cut out the trunk. I actually took all the stuff that was in the trunk out so I could show you guys. Unfortunately, this is the only bad thing about the car. So you can see here, I took the fuel cell, moved it over here because I was mocking it up real quick. But they cut out the trunk pan, which isn't really a big deal. I probably wouldn't have. I would have probably just stuck with a stock gas tank. Usually a pretty good idea. But they had cut out, if I can show you here, they cut out the rear seat well, or they have the tanks as well, or the cupboards. The rear seat well, I guess they were going to try to mount the 4-link in there. It just kind of sucks because it's kind of cut up. The big thing is, I actually only noticed this just recently, is when they were trying to cut this, they started cutting through the mounts for the cross member for the diff mounts. Now, luckily they didn't cut all the way through them. They didn't cut through the bottom sides of them, but they got pretty close. Luckily, I think I can weld those back together and just continue going on that way. This chassis is not perfect at all. If anything, it's not rusty, but I'm definitely saving it. Something like this would not be ideal for a real nice street car. I'm gonna street drive it. It's just gonna be a 10-footer. It's not gonna be pretty, but it's ideal for what I want. It's gonna be the perfect street drift car, and I'm gonna have a lot of fun with it. I'm not gonna feel too bad about getting a nick or a ding in the paint. That's gonna be a real driver's car. So a big thing as well is, since I'm gonna be probably tearing this car apart, I could just get away with ordering the swap mounts, throwing everything in, slapping it together, and getting it going pretty quick. But I kind of want to make it a little bit nicer, even though I said it's not that pretty. I'd still like to pop the hood and not have bright red intake, bright red timing cover, stuff like that. I'm going to be pulling everything apart, cleaning it up, just repainting it, putting it back together. Probably going to re-gasket that motor, some of it. I think it's got a leaky oil pan gasket. The big thing that's going to be, whether I'm on the fence, but I think I've decided that I'm going to go ahead and do it, is the engine bay. So, on camera, it looks bad. In person, it looks worse. So, originally, this car is black. I don't understand why they had spray painted it. At least that's what I believe it is. Spray paint is kind of chipping off of the paint there. So, it looks like they were trying to clean it up a little bit. It's peeling, chipping everywhere. And actually, in some spots, the paint's completely gone. Right where they welded this angle iron, all the paint is peeled off. And if it was in better shape, I'd almost leave it and just put the motor in, call it good. But it's just at that point where it's almost, if I'm taking everything out, it'd be an extra couple of days to sand it down and respray the engine bay. Now, I'm not going to shave the bay, not going to go crazy or anything, but I think if I just have it one solid color, it'll look pretty good. So I'm probably just going to strip the whole engine bay, drop out the subframe. I'm going to put it up on jack stands, sand it down, and we're going to probably just spray it with a single stage, probably a gloss, semi-gloss paint, maybe even Sem Hot Rod Black. But anything's going to be better than what's in here. But that just adds a lot more time. Since I've got to disassemble, the whole front end, I got to pull the fenders off, pull the headlights, pull the bumper, figure out what I'm going to do for mounting my stuff. If I got to pull any of these tabs off, weld up some stuff. But I think I'm going to keep it pretty simple. I've gone pretty overboard in the past. I shaved my bay on my dub, and that added a lot of time. And I'm not looking to be that fancy with this thing, so just want it one color. So probably the next thing that after I figure out what I need to start ordering is start working on the chassis. Probably going to start mocking up the fuel system, probably making a cradle for that fuel cell, making the fuel lines, figuring out what I need for all that, pulling the subframes, putting in some solid bushings, cleaning it up. This actually needs a new front subframe. When they put this motor in here, they actually cut the subframe. You can see it there on both sides. So the mounting points, the stock mounting points are not there for that, so I need to find another one. Drop that all out, clean it all up, paint it, make it look good, and then go from there and start putting everything in. It's going to take a little bit longer, but I think it'll be worth it. It'll look a lot better. And if I ever want to go down the road and repaint this car, the bay's already painted. I ain't got to pull the whole motor out, pull the whole drivetrain, all the lines and stuff like that out. I can just spray the outside, and then we're good to go. All right, so I think you guys heard me yap enough about this project here. It's a pretty ambitious project. It's kind of what I wanted to do next after this thing here. This thing was one of my most ambitious projects, and I'm pretty much finished up with it at this point. So I'm looking to move on to something else, a little bit more challenging. I really wanted to do a turbo build of some sort, and this is really ideal for what I want to do. But I think we're going to get it done. Stay tuned. I'm going to be probably pulling the subframes next, and we will see you guys in the next one. Peace.